So, if you're like me, following this last 2022 championship run that the Golden State Warriors have, I comfortably have Steph Curry in my top 10 players of all time. But some people may say he's a bit overrated still. He still has something to prove. I don't know what else you have to prove being the best scorer in the entire league, breaking three-point records, the first and only unanimous MVP, 4 NBA championships, one Finals MVP, multiple All NBA first teams, multiple All Star appearances. Like, I don't know what else he needs to do to prove he's a top 10 player in of all time. He literally changed the game of basketball like no other has before. Like, we're watching kids shoot 3 half-court shots per game because of Steph Curry. So it's like, how is he underrated? Let's see. This is what this video is about. This video is titled Steph Curry is Overrated. Let's jump into it.
As the smoke clears and the dust has settled on the
Let me turn it up a little bit more.
2022 NBA playoffs, the basketball world, many in the mass media, and morons on Twitter have taken aim at another ludicrous conversation. As if the never-ending barrage of LeBron GOAT stories and conversations wasn't bad enough, we now have these.
So I'm assuming he doesn't like LeBron. All right, that's cool.
Pitchforks to assault your sensibility and intelligence. Curry recently winning his 4th NBA championship for many has cemented him as a top 10 all-time player. While I can appreciate his resume and list of accomplishments, that math quite simply isn't adding up. The NBA is a sport where winning isn't the main thing, it is the only thing. Yet, in the case of Steph Curry, we really have to wonder how great he is from an individual standpoint. Prior to Steve Kerr's arrival, Curry played.
That doesn't make any sense at all. Once you say winning is the only, not the only, what did he say? Once you say winning is the only thing that matters in the NBA, Steph Curry has won time and time again. He has been to the biggest stage ever 6 times in the last 8 years and's won 4 rings. That's once you say that, that's it. We don't have to talk about him individually. Like, I do believe you still have to talk about a player individually, but winning kind of partners along with that individual performance. But after you just said winning is the only thing that matters in the NBA, why do we now have to talk about his individual performance? But let me see what he has to say about, because even individually, without the rings, he is. Let's say Curry didn't win 4 rings, still 2-time MVP, 1-time unanimous, broke 3-point records, holds the record for most threes in the season, multiple All NBA first team appearances, All Star team appearances. I don't think he's ever been on a defensive team, so that's a knock. Steph Curry's defense would be a knock. So I'm still saying he's like top 20 all time without his 4 rings. And that's being on a generous. I mean, that's being on like the harsh side of things, having him as top 20. Like, without the rings, he's like top 15, top 20. Period.
5 NBA seasons. Many would try to imply or outright tell you that he was injured often during those seasons. A narrative which doesn't really hold up. Explore the facts.
Damn.
He played a minimum of 74 games in 4 of those 5 seasons for a total of 336 games across those 5 years.
336 games without Steve Kerr. But I believe he came into the league with an ankle injury. And then he hurt his ankle, I want to say his sophomore season. So even if you're not on and off being injured, that injury still will affect how you play. Like, you can tear your ACL, but just because you don't tear your ACL every season, the way you play will still be altered by it. So yeah, he still played games, but his ankle, to think his ankle still didn't affect him, and to think it's still not affecting him now, is ludicrous. Even back then, though, they didn't have the type of rehab that they do now. Rehab and what players can do to their body these past 10, 15 years has elevated like no other. So to think that his ankle injury did not affect him while he was still playing those 336 games without Steve Kerr, it's dumb. It is dumb. And okay, He played 336 games without Steve Curry and only made it to the playoffs like once or twice. So what? So what? He's growing. He's a player that grew into the star that he is today. Just because he didn't come into the league averaging 30 plus, making it to the finals in his second or third season, that does not take away from what he has accomplished. Like, that's like looking at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't make it to the finals until Scottie Pippen got there. Like, so we're just saying that those first 7 or 8 years of Michael Jordan's game didn't exist, but now we count the first 5 years of Steph Curry's? Like, that doesn't make sense.
That is no small sample size. During that time, Steph Curry averaged 20 points per game, 6.7 assists, and 4.1 rebounds.
That is still really, that's still good. Hold on, what did that 20 points per game career average through the age of 26?
He made one All-Star appearance and was named All-NBA second team one time. The Warriors had a collective record during that span of time of 183 and 211 and won a total of one playoff series. Then at the age of 26, enters Steve Kerr, who created a perfect system around Steph Curry and amassed the perfect complement of players.
But that's what needs to happen for you to win. Like, it's mind-blowing, the dumb shit that he is saying right now. Steve Kerr came in and built a system for Steph Curry. Okay. How is that a knock on Steph Curry? LeBron needed a system built around him. Jordan needed a system built around him. Giannis needed a system built around him. These all-time great players, they have systems built around them for them to be able to achieve. No player is just thrown out there with a mediocre team, with a mediocre coach, and a mediocre organization and just expected to do amazing things. Like, name me one player. You cannot name me one champion who, besides the fucking Stone Ages of the 1950s and 1960s, name me a player who just was thrown into a bad situation, a bad team, and on the strength of himself, carried them to a championship win. You can't. You can't do it. Especially players in the top 10. You can't do it. Now, we can even look at I don't believe ESPN's top 10 is my top 10. But if we look at ESPN's top 10, I can guarantee you I can pick a player out that was either in a good situation or went to a good situation to win. Shaq wasn't winning in Orlando with Penny Hardaway. Went to the Lakers with Kobe Bryant, with a coach in Phil Jackson, and ran the triangle to win the championship. Kobe Bryant, vice versa. He wasn't winning until Shaq came onto the team, so they built the team around him and Shaq. He didn't do it off the strength of himself. His first couple of seasons, he was coming off the bench to start his first 2 seasons. So it's like, come on now. Tim Duncan, he came into a team with David Robinson on it. That's easy. That's easy. David Robinson won MVP, I think, the year before or 2 years before Tim Duncan was even in the league. So Larry Bird, he had all-time greats like Kevin McHale on his team. I'm not familiar with who Larry Bird had on his team, but I know he had Kevin McHale on his team. And he had one other guy. I forgot the name. Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain being 6. Wilt Chamberlain being in your top 10 is crazy. So I'm not even going to talk about that. Magic Johnson. He had Kareem on his team. Yeah. Came into the league with Kareem on his team. Bill Russell. Bill Russell being at 4 is nasty. Kareem. I love talking about Kareem's career because Kareem's career is not really, it's a great career, but the championships he won, he had to have all-time players on his team. Like, he won his first championship and didn't win again until Magic Johnson was on the team. So that's a prime example right there. LeBron James, we already talked about him. He didn't win his first ring until he went to form a super team in Miami. And then, of course, Michael Jordan, he didn't make it he only made it to the Eastern Conference Finals once or twice, I believe, in his first 8 years in the NBA, and didn't make it into the finals until Scottie Pippen joined the team, or until Scottie Pippen was a all-star caliber player. So it's like, no player is just going to dominate and make it to the finals and win multiple finals without having a good team, a good system, and a good coach around them. That's just dumb. You're dumb.
8 years that would ensue Curry has averaged 27 points per game, 6.4 assists, and 5 rebounds, while the Warriors have played in 6 NBA Finals, winning 4. It's important to emphasize that Steph Curry was not a 17-year-old kid when he entered the league, who was still learning and ascending, like others we've seen come directly from high school.
Not Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady is nasty.
With 3 years of college experience under his belt,
college experience compared to NBA experience is nothing like the same. So that's actually a knock on Curry. So say Curry came into the NBA right away at 18 years old. You have 3 years of NBA experience. So his prime would start a bit earlier because because the pace is completely different. The athleticism is completely different. And overall, the skill compared to college to NBA is completely different. So trying to compare his 3 years in college to 3 years of NBA play, once again, this man is idiotic. He is not making any sense at all.
And until his aged 26th season, he was a 20-point per game career.
And then let's say, so he's aged 26, but that's with 3 years in college. Let's just say instead of 26, let's play with what he's saying right now. Let's say he came into the league at 18. He didn't come into the league at 21 with his college experience, with his 3 years of college experience. Ooh, college. Like, let's say he came in at 18 instead of 21. So his prime would start when he was around 23 or 24. Because 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, that's that 5 years it took him to become that all-star superstar player. So his prime now is starting at 23 years old. If we want to put it into that perspective. So I just don't understand everything he's saying. It doesn't make sense. He's basically saying the first 5 years of Steph Curry wasn't as great as his okay, because I'm starting to get flustered. He's saying his first 5 years in the NBA is not as great as his prime. You can say that for so many players. James Harden came off the bench his first couple of years. Now, I'm not saying James Harden is a top 10 player of all time, but he came off the bench his first couple of years in OKC and really didn't get to shine until he was in Houston. Are we going to take those OKC years and penalize him for those years because he wasn't in the system that best fit him? No, we're not going to do that. Giannis, he's starting his prime at around 26, 27 years old as well. Are we going to penalize him for his first 8 years of play because he wasn't in the system that best fit him, because he didn't have the correct pieces around him for him to win a championship? No, we're not going to do that. So we're not going to do that with Steph Curry and act like the first 5 years is just the only 5 years ever. We're not going to do that.
Career scorer with 1 All-NBA team selection and 1 total playoff series win. This seems like a compelling amount of evidence to the contrary, that Curry was a dominant player.
He was
MVPs as a major feather in his cap of the top
conversation. He was a dominant player.
The first league MVP he got. The year was 2014-2015. Steph Curry averaged 23.8 points per game, 7.7 assists, and 4.3 rebounds. For context, here are 5 seasons produced by Kobe Bryant in which he did not win the league MVP. But since many want to harp on media bestowed awards or rankings, let's take a look at cumulative All-NBA team selections and all defensive selections. Steph Curry has been selected to 4 All-NBA first teams, 3 All-NBA second teams, and 1 All-NBA third team. He has 0 All-NBA defensive selections in his 13-year career, leaving him with a total of 8 cumulative all-league selections. To put that number in context, the player with the most total all-league selections in NBA history is Tim Duncan with 30, and Kobe Bryant is second on that list with 27. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with 26 total selections.
I don't understand
And Michael Jordan with 20 round out the top 5.
So if that's his case, and stick with me, if that's his case, if these are that important, if all NBA selections are that important, won't that mean Tim Duncan is the GOAT? And Kobe's second? And Kareem's third? And LeBron's fourth? And Jordan is fifth? What are we doing here? Why are we talking about cumulative All-NBA? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? That does not make sense. I don't know if I'm missing something. Let me know if I'm missing something, or is this video just completely stupid? Because why are we? I don't get it. I'm not following. I'm really not following.
His total breadth of accomplishments simply does not warrant his inclusion on the top 10 all-time list without fantastical stories about him, quote, changing the game, or, quote, being the...
But he did. But he did. You're acting like we're lying when we say that. He is a generational player who changed the game of basketball. What?
Best little player ever. But accomplishments in terms of impact on a team winning championships as well as individual dominance are all that really matter at the end of the day in these conversations. And if you think Steph Curry is one of the 10 best ever in those categories, chances are you haven't been watching long enough or have a very short memory.
I don't know. I could be missing something. He could be spitting, and I'm just ignorant because I wholeheartedly believe Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time. So let me know down below in the comment section. Do you feel like Steph Curry is in your top 10? And if not, where do you place him outside of your top 10? And for reference, I have him at 10. I don't have him at 6 or 7. I have Steph Curry at the 10th spot. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, comment, subscribe. I'll see all you in the next video. Peace out.